because you need to have a lever that you can pull in your business. You need to be able to make sure that if I need to grow the business, I have avenues where I have customer acquisition channels available to me to get more revenue coming in.
You're not just climbing trees, you're climbing destiny. Yeah.
What is going on? And welcome to the Branching Out Podcast. My name is Justin Rademacher. And on this podcast, our goal is to help tree service business owners get more organized and grow their tree businesses. A lot of the stuff that we talk about will also apply to basically any other service-based business. So if you're just tuning in, go ahead and lock in, and we're going to cover a pretty cool topic today. So today, what I really wanted to talk about was how to measure ROI. Now, this isn't going to be super targeted for people that are doing over $2 million a year in revenue. This is not going to be for people that have sophisticated CRM systems. This is going to be for the people that maybe are using paper contracts. They're not doing anything digital. All their invoicing is through paper, cash, and maybe their credit card processor that need a better system to keep track of how much they're spending on ads and what the ROI is on each one of those channels. Before we jump into that, I do want to go ahead and say that ROI stands for return on investment. And when I think about building a business, right? There's two different types of businesses from my perspective. Is that we've got businesses where it's a job that I'm self-employed at, and then there's businesses that I want to grow and scale so that they can run without me, right? Everything that we're going to talk about on this podcast for the most part, and for this video specifically, is going to be for the latter. It's going to be for that individual that is trying to build a machine that can run without them. Right. And so marketing is a very fundamentally important part of that equation, because you need to have a lever that you can pull in your business. You need to be able to make sure that if I need to grow the business, I have avenues where I have customer acquisition channels available to me to get more revenue coming in, right? Because I want to add another crew. I want to do X, Y, or Z. I want to hire a general manager or a foreman or whatever the case may be so that I can have more time with my family, right? So that's who this information is really going to be for. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. I created a sort of a mock-up Google Sheets, because Google Sheets are free. And this is almost like a crash course Excel training, but I personally use Google Sheets. It's free. It's web-based. You can use it anywhere, right? So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. I'll actually have, if you want a copy of this template, I'll just comment in the video or wherever this is posted, and I'll make sure to get you a copy of it that you can use in your business. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and let's go ahead and share the entire screen of screen 2 just to make my life easy here. And there's the woods, and here we are. Okay, so what I have here in front of me is, it's a Google Sheets document. I created this spreadsheet just to keep track of some of the jobs that have been completed, right? Now, this is all fake data. Don't try to call these people because you'll get a busy signal, but this is all fake data. And really all I need to know is I looked at the past 30 days, right? And for this month, here's the individual's name. There's their phone number. Here's the address, the quoted price that I gave them, and the source of where it came from. So this is super important. I need to understand, how did these individuals find me, right? Was it word of mouth? Was it my website? Was it organic SEO? Was it my walkers? Did it come from next door advertising? So all of your lead sources should be listed here, and they should match, right? So the reason this is important, and this is only completed jobs, is because I need to figure out what is my revenue by channel, right? So I'm going to show you a really neat trick that you can do. And this works with Excel too, if that's what you're using. But what we're going to do here is we're going to actually create what's called a pivot table. So we've got all this data, and it doesn't matter how much data you have. I used 50 records, but this could be 100, this could be 1,000, right? You could look at it for the entire year. It could be all the jobs that you've completed, but you have to have the data here. Now, once you have that, we can go ahead, and I like to Control A just to highlight everything. You don't necessarily need to do that, but I can click Insert, and then I'm going to be looking for Pivot Table. It's about halfway down this menu right here. So I'm going to add it to a new sheet because I want to create a new sheet down here in the bottom left. And I'm actually the data range is A1 through F51. So all that data, we're good. And I'm going to create my pivot table. Ta-da! Now, before I get into the configuration of my pivot table, I'm just going to go ahead and rename it to, we're going to call this lead source report. And here's what I want to know is, and this is important when I'm creating a pivot table, is I need to understand what it is that I'm actually asking the system to do. Is I'm trying to understand how many jobs came in from each lead source, and I want to know how much total revenue came in from each lead source, right? And that's something that we can absolutely pull because we have the data. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I don't generally use the suggestions. You can maybe try that, but I know that the rows that I want over here are actually going to be the lead sources. So I'm going to go ahead and add a row. You can also drag and drop. So I'm going to drag it from over here and put it under the rows column. Look at that. So now I've got all of the different unique rows. Again, this is pulling from my main data table, all these different variables. If I added one in here, it would suddenly appear on that report. So I'm going to go back to the lead source report. And now you can add columns, but I'm just going to add values because the way that I want to view this is I want to see how many, we'll say name, right? And I want to count basically how many unique names I have, basically how many jobs I have by source is what I'm trying to get here. And then right next to that, I also want to add the quoted price. So I'm going to take quoted price and I'm going to drag that down under the values table. Okay. I messed up. I accidentally overwrote my name. Here we go. All right. So now I've got count of name next to sum of quoted price. So now this is starting to shape up, right? Like I'm starting to see, oh, okay, well, now I actually have a breakdown of revenue by channel, which is phenomenal, right? So I can see that for Google local service ads, we did 15 jobs and I generated $30,000 in revenue this month. Not bad. For my Google pay-per-click campaign, which is separate, we did also 15 jobs and I got $28,000 in revenue from that. Next door, I did 5 jobs and I got 10K. Organic, this is like your SEO work, right? I got 5 jobs, got 11K. Social media and walkers. Now, these numbers are going to they're going to vary entirely based on your business model, your advertising strategy, and what you're doing today to actually generate customers, right? If all you do is door knock, you could take this a step further and your lead source, right? Stay with me here. Your lead source, instead of being, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry, guys. Bear with me one second. Instead of being Google PPC or Walker, you could have this be Walker Terry, who's one of your employees, right? Walker John. And then on your lead source report, what you would actually see is Terry John. So you could get an idea of how many jobs you completed from each one of those walkers. This makes, I know if you're doing door to door as a marketing strategy, this makes your life so much easier come payroll time. Because I know sometimes you're paying 7.5%, whatever your breakdown is. This makes life a lot easier. You can even formulate that out to where it'll tell you exactly what you need to pay, but that's more advanced. So this baseline gives us a revenue by channel. And that would be pretty cool. I will say that there are other really neat things that you can do with a pivot table. If you really wanted to get fancy, you can take all this data and you can insert and you can add a chart. If you really wanted to visualize this and get an idea of where is all of my revenue coming from, holy cow, most of it's coming from Google LSA. So you can get a bar chart, pie chart. You can visualize this data any way that you want to. And I'm not going to go through all the different customizations that you can do to the chart itself. Just know that by creating a pivot table, you can then create charts and reports based on that to show the story of what you're really trying to understand. Because we're visual people, this is easier to understand than this is. Now, I promised you an ROI report. And while this is really cool, this isn't giving you an ROI, right? Now, if this title bothers you, you can change those and things like that. But this is just giving you the revenue by channel. Return on investment is a formula that will take into account your total revenue and what your investment was. So that's the next piece of the puzzle. Now that we know what the revenue is from each one of these channels, and we probably know what we invested in each one of these channels, we're going to go ahead and come up with an ROI here. So just to make my life easy, I'm going to Control C this, and I'm going to go over to my ROI report here. And I am going to go ahead and say, here's the different channels. I'll just overwrite this. Now, you'll see here that I have source, I have investment, return, and ROI, right? So basically, the way that I think about this is the Google local service ads. How much did I spend? What was my budget well, not my budget, but what did I actually spend on Google local service ads for the time period that I'm measuring? I like to do things in 30-day increments. It makes life a little bit easier. It makes the data cleaner. It also makes me make better marketing decisions for the following month. So let's say that we spent $3,000 on Google local service ads. If you've never run ads before, you're probably thinking, holy cow, $3,000, but you're going to see why being able to track is important here in a second. Now, for a return, you can absolutely automate this to where you're pulling in formulas from your pivot table. We're not going to get that fancy for the purposes of this video. I want to keep this as simple as possible, but I'm going to go back to my lead source report and I'm going to say, okay, here's the number. This is what I brought in from LSA. So we're going to go back here and on return, I'm going to put my monies. Now I'm a little particular, so I'm going to go ahead and put a $sign here just so I can see this the way that I want to see it. And we're going to get rid of this guy here. All right. Okay, so in order to calculate ROI, it is revenue minus ad spend divided by ad spend times 100. So let's visualize that, right? So we have revenue, which is the return, minus ad spend, which is what we spent here on the investment side, divided by ad spend. So I'm going to make a formula for this, which is super advanced, but this is how I'm going to do this, is I'm going to say my return. So this ROI equals this number, my return, minus my ad spend, which is this number, right? Divided by my ad spend, which is this number. Now, don't forget, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So I need to go ahead and put the parentheses around my subtraction equation. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And I'll also autofill these. So that way I don't have to write this formula again. And then I'm going to change all of these into a percent. So look at that. So on Google local service ads, I have a 924% ROI. I am very, very, very happy with that. For every dollar I put in, I got 9 back essentially. So now we're going to do the same exact thing for Google pay-per-click. Now let's say we went a little heavy on pay-per-click this month and I spent $5,000, right, on pay-per-click advertising. Now, if I come back to my lead source report, I can see that I made $28,398. I'm going to copy that, come back over and paste it. I've got a 467% ROI. I spent a lot on ads and I'm still really, really happy with that. Next door, we really only spent $719 on next door, but we got 10,000. Now we only got 5 leads, but from an ROI perspective, we got 1371. We're gonna do the same thing for organic. Now organic's a little bit difficult because where do you attribute that cost? The way that I like to think about it is organic can be part of the management fee for your advertising company that's handling this. Or if you have an SEO firm that's all they do for you, then we'll go ahead and say that that is your investment into your SEO. So what was your ROI there? So we're going to go ahead and say for organic, we generated this. And if you're working with somebody like us, I know that we're going to be spending somewhere around anywhere from $1,300 to up to $3,000 a month on our management fee, which includes SEO. So that's kind of how I like to think about that. And then it also washes out all these other channels. And then social media, if you were spending, we'll say that you invested $2,000 on meta ads, and we go back to our lead source report and we'll see that we got 97.47 as a return, 387. Now you can do the same exact thing for your walkers. You'll just need to put in what you spent on commissions for them. Generally speaking, we see that tree companies are paying a percentage of revenue, so you already kind of know what your margins are there. So I'm not going to focus on that for this video. What I am going to focus on is digital. So we're going to go ahead and delete this from here because I don't necessarily care about it. So from here, you can also get a total. So I'm going to do a quick formula and we're going to do sum of B2 through B6 and da 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 da. So we invested $12,000 total and our return total is $90,000, which gives us an overall digital marketing ROI of 613%. If you've got these numbers, and this, I don't know where this is coming from. This ain't right. This is actually this. If you've got these numbers going on overall in your business, you have a business, because now you can see where it makes it very easy to know if I spend X, I'm going to receive Y, generally speaking. So how do I review these numbers? What do I think about these numbers? Now, I think it's important to call out here again that this is all fake data, right? Like this is not an actual client's data. But if I were reviewing this at the beginning of a new month, because I've already put in all of my previous month's data in here. I would say to myself, okay, Nextdoor has a ridiculously high ROI. Even though we're not getting very many jobs, it could be attributed to the fact that we're not spending a lot of money. Now, maybe I'm currently investing, we'll say $12,718 is what I spent last month on marketing. I'm comfortable bumping that up to $15,000. I really want to go heavy on Nextdoor and see if I could increase the ad spend there and take advantage of this 1,300% ROI. So if I said I'm going to go ahead and increase my marketing budget to 15,000, everything else stays the same, but I'm going to go ahead and just take that 2,000 extra dollars and put it towards Nextdoor. And then next month, I'll run these numbers again and I'll say, okay, my ROI went down a little bit, or maybe it stayed the same. And I was actually able to get more and more jobs coming from Nextdoor. And I would continue to test that theory until I hit what I call the law of diminishing returns. Meaning I can't spend $1 million on Google ads and get 9 million out. That's just not how it's going to work. At some point, there's a continuum that starts to fall off. And my job as a marketer or an advertiser is to find that precipice, is to find that part where the curve actually hits, right? And I do that by making informed marketing decisions, not emotional decisions, because show of hands, who here has already demonized social media ads, right? And say Facebook ads are BS, right? Maybe that's true. And maybe in order to get this revenue, you had to comb through a lot more leads. But at the end of the day, dollars and cents, even if we got a 387% ROI, I'm not mad about that. We did not waste money. We are ROI positive and we made some money. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this here just because I know that was a ton of information. Before you can do any of this, right? Before you can do any of this, you have to start tracking your data. You absolutely need to put in the date, the name, the phone, address, quoted price, and lead source. These are the only two columns that we really worked with today as far as data is concerned, is the quoted price and the lead source. But think of the possibilities here. You could add in email. You could add in type of job that they did, whether it was a trim or a removal. And then on your data, you could say, how much money did we make during trims? How much money did we make doing removals? At some point, you're getting to the advanced portion of let's just go ahead and get a CRM that can calculate all this stuff for us. But if you're doing it manually, this is a great, great place to start. So again, if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, what I'll do is I'll make it a public link. What you'll need to do is when you open it up, you won't be able to edit it. So you'll just have to click on file up here and then make a copy. And then you'll have your own version that you can put your logos on, name it whatever you want to. And you can do exactly what you need to do on that report. So I'll go ahead and leave the fake data on here just so you have something to reference. Again, if you have any questions, Arborist Marketing Pros, we love talking shop with tree companies. If you have questions about marketing, you want to talk about SEO, or if you just want us to give you a full scale strategy session and tell you what it would cost for us to handle all this stuff with you, or for you, I should say, just go to our website, arboristmarketingpros.com/schedule, block yourself out of time, and we'd be more than happy to chat. Otherwise, appreciate you guys tuning in and have a good day. Don't forget to call the damn leads. Bye for now.